Greetings everyone, this is Jed Shlackman, and in this video I'll be speaking about stress, about pressure, tension, resistance, how we encounter experiences in our life that through our response or interaction with those phenomena creates the experience of stress or pressure or some type of trauma perhaps. It's important to understand that we are creating our own reality in a subjective sense. So the external phenomena are there, and as we pass through or encounter those things, we are giving a subjective meaning to it. We're the one perceiving, interpreting, and responding to whatever phenomena might be present in our external environment. So something that's happening there isn't innately or inherently in and of itself stressful or traumatic. It's just the nature of our own reaction or interaction with that phenomena that generates the stress. To give a little bit of an illustration of this, I'm going to use a metaphor here with a stone. So if I have this stone and I throw it up through the air, when the stone goes through the air, it doesn't really meet much resistance. The air doesn't have much density or pressure to it. The air isn't something solid that creates friction when the stone is sailing through it. So the air isn't really going to be disturbed much by this stone being thrown through it, and the stone isn't going to be stressed or harmed either. It's going to come back down safe and sound if I catch it in my hand. Of course, if the stone were to fall and hit a hard surface, if it falls all the way back down and let's say it strikes the pavement or concrete on the ground, well, that surface is very dense and hard and rigid, and when the stone hits it, it could crack the stone or crack the surface. So in that case, the pressure or stress created by the collision of the stone with the ground can create a trauma in a sense, some damage to the stone or the surface that it strikes. Just think if I were to throw this stone at a panel of glass. Well, the glass is very fragile in that sense. It's a material that will have a lot of friction created when this stone strikes it. And because of its qualities, of its rigidity, it could easily crack and shatter. Now, if I were to take this stone and throw it into a surface or body of water, so if I throw this into a pond, into a lake, into a pool, well, that particular medium that it's going into is not as light or lacking in resistance as the air was, but water is fluid, so this will slow down some when it hits the water. It may create a ripple in the water, but then the water will return back to its normal smooth equilibrium in a sense. It won't be disturbed in any lasting way by the stone hitting it. It'll calm back down rather quickly, and the stone may sink to the bottom since it's perhaps denser or heavier than the water. So the interaction between the stone and the water is different than the interaction between the stone and the air, and certainly different than the interaction between the stone and a hard, rigid surface like concrete or glass. So in that example, we can see that throwing the stone in and of itself doesn't create stress or trauma. It depends on what the stone ends up interacting with and how those interactions affect the stone or affect what the stone is coming in contact with. And this is the case in our own life with our own interpersonal interactions, things that happen socially and environmentally in our human lives. We might have a person talk to us in a certain way or treat us in a certain way, and depending on how prepared we are for that, depending on our thoughts and beliefs and attitudes, we might be okay with it, we might be very accepting of that form of treatment, or we might be very disturbed by it. So let's say you happen to be disturbed by offensive language, what you consider offensive language. So language that uses certain words that are considered cursing words or obscene language. In your mind, in your belief system, in your worldview or way of looking at life, if someone talks to you that way, then they are mistreating you, they are offending or harming you, they're in some way attacking you, let's say. So that's your perception of that reality, the meaning that you're giving to that, and as a result, you may feel hurt, you may feel angry, you may feel sad, you may feel fearful or threatened. You'll have your own feeling or sensation about it, and you may carry that feeling or sensation with you beyond that particular experience. So it may become kind of embedded in your consciousness and your sense of self. So you may feel some type of deep trauma from that experience, whereas a different person exposed to that same circumstance or situation or environment might not carry that feeling at all. They might not have felt stressed about it. It might not have meant anything like that to them. This is important for us to understand if we want to shift things in our consciousness. We need to understand the degree of subjectivity that's present in our life and in our experiences, so that we have the power to transform the way we think about things, the way we feel, the emotions that we're carrying, the beliefs that we're holding on to. If we are very rigid, very set in our thoughts and beliefs, rigid kind of like the concrete that was struck by the stone in that earlier metaphor, well, we can create an experience of feeling very stressed or disturbed, of feeling hurt or damaged. Whereas if we're very light and open and free-flowing, more like the water or even more so like the air, where we just allow things to pass through our experience without holding on to any grudges or any resentments, without remaining stuck in a particular moment in time, then we'll have less stress. We'll find things may seem to flow more. We'll be able to go along with the current of life and not be carrying strong emotions about what's already occurred in our past. So this is something we can each look at in our own life. We can see how we've carried experiences of stress or trauma based upon our belief systems, our attachment to whatever viewpoint we had about a certain experience or phenomena. And based upon this, we can take responsibility for our own thoughts, our own beliefs, our own feelings and emotions, realizing that we can't change what other people are saying or doing. We can't change all the things that are happening in the world around us. We can shift our perspective on things. We can shift the way we react and respond. We can shift how we interpret the way life is unfolding. we can choose to see ourselves as a victim, as someone who's wounded or damaged or harmed or fragmented, someone who's devalued or disempowered. That's one way we can look at some things in our life. Whereas another way to look at things is to see things as opportunities, to think or believe that life is here ultimately to serve our personal evolution, to help us open and expand our consciousness, to help us find more balance, more strength, more wholeness, more compassion, more love and understanding, and so on. So if we look at things more from that point of view, then we can use the different experiences and really the different circumstances that are around us to help us further that intention, to help us become more whole, more balanced, more self-aware. I hope that this discussion has given each of us some things to consider. It's brought a new light or a new way of looking at things. And for those that are interested in your personal growth, in spiritual development, in health and well-being, I invite you to view my website, which is phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. For now, I would like to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.